All right. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the delay in getting started here. We're ready to go. I appreciate you sticking with us, and welcome to the fifth episode of the Good Decisions monthly webinar on AI governance insights. I'm just checking to make sure people are able to get in okay, and doing a quick look of who's joined us. Great, awesome. Yeah, thanks everybody for your patience while we get started here. I'm Jay Combs, VP of Marketing, and with me is Dave Trier, our VP of Product. The past couple months, we've been doing webinars breaking down different AI regulations and trends. But today we're going to take a little bit of a detour and do a deeper dive into our new ModelOp version 3.3, our new software that we've just announced, and we're really excited to share it with you. This is kind of a first peek into what we've been working on. And it includes the world's first AI governance score, which is basically a standardized metric that measures AI risk and compliance adherence across diverse AI initiatives, regardless of whether you're using generative AI, in-house developed or proprietary models, third-party vendor tools, or embedded AI systems like Microsoft Copilot or Salesforce Einstein. So there's a lot to talk about and what that is. It's essentially an apples to apples comparison for executives into what's going on with AI within the organization. And we're really excited to share it with you. We've got a fairly straightforward agenda today. We're going to talk about first just the AI accountability problem, kind of set up the challenges that we were seeing in the market as to why we decided to make these big announcements and investments in ModelOp 3.3. We'll give you a quick overview of what it is, and then Dave, our VP of Product, who you all know fairly well at this point, hopefully, is going to give you a demo of ModelOp 3.3. And of course, as always, this material will be available after the webinar. We'll send out the deck. We'll send out the recording so you can share it and come back to it. And as always, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A box to enter in any thoughts you might have. And with that, we're going to get going. All right. So talked about this in some past webinars, but what we call the AI accountability problem is a couple things. I mean, first of all, we know that very few executives are able to properly identify what AI is being used, how it's being used within their organizations, and what are its risks. And part of that is, anybody with a credit card right now can swipe and get an AI tool and start putting in company information, using it in a variety of ways, similar to how cloud got started way back in the day. So there's just a lot that anybody can do with AI right now, and it's hard to get a kind of a handle on it across a large organization. And part of the reason for that is that technology is rapidly evolving. There's tons of tools. I mean, ChatGPT has just announced another update, but across different verticals and industries, different development teams and data science teams want the freedom to use the tools that are best for the use cases that they're developing. And that, innately makes it hard to really identify systematically all the challenges and risks and value of those use cases across a larger enterprise. And then, every week, just keep your eyes on the headlines. Colorado passed a law last week. There's new rules and regulations related to AI, and they have real deadlines that are happening now. And so I guess this all points to kind of a singular challenge. How do you innovate with AI while protecting the business? And that leads us to introducing ModelOp 3.3. So Dave, why don't you take it away here and take it from here?
Excellent. Thanks so much, Jay. And thanks everybody for joining. As Jay mentioned, Dave Trier, VP of Product with ModelOp. I am so excited to announce ModelOp 3.3 today. This is one where we're incredibly proud of all of the effort that we put into it. Really, 3.3 is to address those challenges that Jay brought up, which is that there's board level visibility into the use of AI, that everybody's talking about AI and how we can get substantial gains from the use of AI. But then the second question is, well, how do we protect the organization? With ModelOp 3.3, we're advancing what we've done in the past to allow for freedom of innovation, to use the right AI technology for the specific business need, but do it with the right level of controls. So in 3.3, we've extended how you have first visibility into all the AI initiatives that are being worked across the enterprise. Second, we've extended how we can help to enforce the right governance controls without stifling innovation, as I mentioned. And then third, we extended how we help to govern and report on how those AI systems are being used from a overall safety and responsibilities perspective, but also from a value perspective. So again, incredibly excited around our 3.3 release. If you go to the next slide, just to ground yourselves for those that haven't seen or heard about ModelOp Center, our product before, our software ModelOp is composed of 3 core capabilities. First is a very comprehensive inventory that allows you to have visibility and accountability into all types of models, whether they're open source, cloud-based, proprietary, vendor models, or embedded AI, as Jay mentioned before, but done in a dynamic way so that you don't have to slow down the innovation cycles. Second is a very powerful process automation engine to help to enforce the governance policy. But the key word there is automation, because we don't want to slow down innovation. We don't need manual ad hoc steps. We can use automation with our out-of-the-box integrations to make sure that the right steps are being followed for each and every AI system according to the governance policy. And then the third core capability is a very powerful reporting engine, which includes a whole suite of out-of-the-box tests that can be used for comprehensive testing, ongoing monitoring, as well as automated documentation generation for things such as annual reviews and validation reports, etc. All of this is powered by our over 5 years of experience doing this with the Fortune 500. So we baked in our best practices throughout our software. And of course, as I mentioned previously, that we have a series of out-of-the-box integrations to ensure that, again, we're systematically pushing and pulling information. This is not a manual entry into a bunch of Excel sheets, etc. So again, just wanted to ground everyone into what our core product is, ModelOp Center. But if you go to the next one, some of the new capabilities in 3.3, again, across that inventory, across those workflows and controls, and across the reporting, first and foremost is that we've actually updated our inventory, really to make it easier to allow different users to register their AI systems. And those AI systems, there's a lot more of them in working with our customers than a lot more vendor models or embedded AI. So for example, having AI embedded into Epic EHR, et cetera. So we made it a lot more seamless to be able to register those AI use cases, even before any code is being written or you've procured a vendor model, but being able to have visibility into those AI systems as part of it. On the second area around those workflows and scores, we've introduced, as Jay mentioned, what we call our AI governance score, which is meant to give an apples to apples comparisons, especially for executives or those that aren't acutely aware of all the nuances of AI technology, whether this is a neural net or this is an LLM, whether this is a vendor model or this is a cloud-based, just gives you an apples to apples comparison. Am I actually complying with the governance policy? Where am I? Where do I have outstanding items? Where do I have risks? So we'll spend a little bit of time in the demonstration talking about how we use this governance score to allow the large enterprise to be able to adhere to their governance policy, and again, in an automated and systematized fashion. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about some of the updates around the reports. So we've introduced model cards. It's a very common concept coming out of Google and Hugging Faces using model cards. So we've allowed you to actually customize what goes into those model cards and be able to produce those for your various AI systems. Again, agnostic to the AI technology, open source, cloud-based, vendor, etc. So again, we'll hit on each of those 3 areas around the inventory, the scores, and the reporting as we go through those 3.3 updates. All right, so with that, Jay, if you want to go ahead and hand over the screen share. Give me 1 second, and we should be able to see ModelOp Center. All right. So again, just to orient everybody that has never seen ModelOp before, on the left-hand side are those 3 core areas: the inventory, those process automations we call model life cycles, and then the reporting area. And right down the center, your eye is drawn to all of the various AI, ML, and also traditional models that are used throughout the enterprise across different business units, across different risk tiers. But most importantly, where do I have potential risks or issues? Where do I need to look into, well, do I have performance issues or ethical fairness issues, or do I have more traditional infrastructure or security type issues? So again, you're given that immediate visibility into all the AI systems and where I need to draw my attention to. Now, if we go into some of those updates around 3.3, I've gone into the inventory. Now, with this, we've actually centered everything around the use case, right? At the end of the day, AI is meant to solve a business problem or a use case, if you will. So naturally, we wanted to ensure that our product is centered around those business problems, and we use those in what we call use cases. And with that, we've done a nice job in terms of providing a comprehensive inventory to support all different types of models across all different organizations. Again, whether vendor, open source, proprietary, embedded, it doesn't matter. And by having that consistent view, you can do things such as show me, all right, well, what are all the AI systems that are used in the clinical organization, right? Or what are all the AI systems that have PII as part of it? Or even further, what if I wanted to search by custom information, or I wanted to see, all right, you know what? I want to be able to see what are all the vendor models out there. With 3.3, we now give you that more enhanced search to allow you to find the specific AI systems that may have PII or within an organization or a particular owner. It even goes so far as to download a report, if you will, in CSV, since most enterprises work in Excel sheets and PowerPoint, right? So you're able to download all of this information to Excel sheets so that you might want to create your own offline report that you send off to management around this. So again, with 3.3, we've first and foremost centered around the use case to give you visibility into where AI is used across the enterprise, regardless of the technology that's being used as part of it. Now, if I go into one particular use case, this is where ModelOp Center is extremely powerful to ensure that we're driving consistency and accountability for each and every AI use case. So I've opened up an insider trading detection AI system, and you can see that you're immediately presented with what organization that is, what if it's using PII or PHI, what is the risk tier around this? This is a high risk system, and where is it from an overall model lifecycle perspective? Is it in development, validation, testing, production? But most importantly, we immediately present what are the open items, whether they be tasks or risks. In this case, we have a couple of risks that were identified as part of the testing process. We can go into the details of each one of those risks, but I immediately know what are the specific open risks or tasks that I need to account for this particular AI system. And on the right-hand side is that governance score, right? So this is that apples to apples comparison. Just give me an idea of, for this AI system, are we actually adhering to all of this specific compliance and governance controls, approvals, tasks that need to be done? And really the power of this is automatically generated, right? So you see a couple of examples here where we're looking at, all right, well, here's all the key pieces of metadata or information that need to be collected. So we can do that consistently across all the different technologies. In this case, you can see what we're actually missing a particular input that the governance team really wants to see, which is what are the limitations around the use case, this particular AI system. And I'll show you in a second how this is dynamic. I can update, provide that input as an AI system owner, provide those limitations in there, and then the governance score will automatically update so that we are accounting for all of it. Again, we'll come back to this governance score in a second. But overall, as we look at this overall AI system, we're immediately presented with what we need to do, where are we from a governance score perspective, but can move into things such as metrics, right? So I want to understand, well, this is showing what is the performance. Underneath the hood, this is actually a classifier. So show me what was the performance across different versions. I have 2 different versions here, right? Show me, let's go ahead and zoom into a particular day and show me, all right, well, the accuracy was a little bit off between those, but what does the F1 score look like? So again, you're presented with not only the what do I need to do, how am I doing from a governance compliance, but also some of the key information like the metrics, whether it be performance, bias, fairness, all of the traditional statistical metrics, et cetera. And that moves down into these particular pieces of information that we want to collect in a standard format across all the different AI systems. Some basic information, but with 3.3, we've actually extended this to allow you to customize the types of information that is being collected. so that enterprise one of our customer A, can go and say, well, you know what, I want to make sure we capture the business justification, scope, and limitations. But another customer say, you know what, we need a couple additional fields. ModelOp 3.3 allows for this type of customization across the different entities, whether it's a use case as well as the technologies behind it. And furthermore, from this, again, use case specific view, what is the business problem we're trying to solve? In this case, it's insider trading detection. But I also need to accommodate, well, how am I implementing that? What technologies am I using? That's where we have this section around implementations. In this case, we're actually using an LLM-based approach to try to classify e-com-based communications for insider trading detection. So you see, we're actually using a foundational model, a Llama 2 foundational model, and then we have a lane chain orchestrator. So I'm presented with not only here's the business information, here's some of the risk information, but here's the technical information that we're using, and we'll come back to that in a second. Furthermore, as you would expect, there's documentation, so we're able to associate the documentation, approvals, notifications, and then that last piece that I mentioned around those model cards. So being able to quickly present in a model card format, well, just show me what's the description, who's it developed by, what are the uses, what are some of the bias, risks, and limitations? So I can quickly present this in a model card format. So think of it as like a baseball card, right? And if I want to send this off to an executive or somebody that's trying to understand, well, what is this AI system doing? What's the current challenges we had? We are now able to do that by providing these model cards as an easy to consume format overall.
Hey, Dave, I'm going to let you just take a quick breath there, because you can go and there's actually a couple real good questions related to exactly what you're bringing up here. One is it possible to add your own risk assessment questionnaires as you're kind of building out those, I guess, like different risk models here? For instance, like the EU AI Act compliance, if you're dealing with that for European entities around lifecycle risk assessment. But anyways, can you add your own risk assessments? And then two, are there ways to customize like approval workflows depending on the AI use case?
Yep, absolutely. Yes and a yes. So again, we designed our system overall to be able to allow you to customize what the overall assessment is. And that actually starts first with customizing the specific forms that you want to collect the information. So I'm going to jump over here and show you right now as a model owner or an AI system business owner that says, I've got this idea for this LLM clinical text summarizer. I want to add this use case. And here's a couple of pieces of information around it. But to the question around, can I customize what is the information in the risk assessment? Absolutely. So this is an example of where we've gone and created a custom form to collect things like, okay, well, who's the executive sponsor, clinical sponsor? What's the intended usage? Is it to drive clinical management or treat, diagnose, et cetera? All of this is customizable so that you can collect the key pieces of information that then go into the second part, that risk assessment, if you will. And that risk assessment, if you will, is part of the overall identification of in this governance score that you can have, a risk assessment as another category, right? Whether it's an EU AI risk assessment, or if you're looking at Texas House Bill 2060 overall, those are all configurable. And you can assess every single AI system that's input against those particular sets of assessment items, if you will. So great question.
Cool. Thanks, Dave.
All right. And I'm just going to show you, in the interest of time, I'm just going to skip ahead to show you that the power of these governance scores is that they're automated, right? So you saw where I'm missing a particular limitation. This is something that's required not only by your internal policy, but most of the regulations want you to identify what's the scope, what's the limitations, those sorts of things. So immediately I can scroll down and you see, well, it was a required field. I just forgot to add it over as part of the onboarding. So let me go ahead and do that now and just say we're going to limit this to to a pilot in the US West only. I hit that big save button. And if I hit the refresh, well, notice this one went to green, right? So it's automatically calculating all of the various particular assessments, the identification of the various controls. So as this goes through its life cycle, as we've actually added the technical implementations, we've added versions. As part of it, we'll need to ensure that we've collected documentation. We'll need to ensure that the reviews are done. You can see here we're missing a particular approval. So as it goes through this life cycle, the system is smart enough to understand where we're missing information such as approvals, documentation, tests, reviews. All of that is constantly collected and assessed for this overall governance score. And then you get a roll up, as you can see, as part of this into an overall model score. So again, a very powerful way to see whether it's a insider trading detection using an LLM, or if I switch to a different one, this is an LLM compliance policy chatbot, exact same screen, right? You're seeing the exact same governance score so that executives can get that apples to apples comparison, whether it's an LLM, an NLP, good old statistical regression. It does not matter. Where are we in terms of our overall governance score? The last thing I want to end on is on the reporting side. So now we've had visibility with our inventory. We've helped to enforce the governance controls through a variety of governance scores with those model life cycles. And now, how do I report on those? Now, on the reporting side, so I'm going to go down to back to my insider trading detection. On the reporting side, again, there's a couple different levels. You have reporting at the individual use case level, where you can use things such as these model cards for a quick way to express all the information, the test results, the approvals about it. So you can report at an individual level, right? And then you can actually move to reporting at more of a departmental level. So I'm going to jump over to the My Work page. This is a new page within version 3.3, which is meant to, as a model risk officer or governance officer or an executive, just give me a view of all of the various AI systems that I oversee, where I have a variety of open critical tasks that need to be accounted for, where I have new risk as of today or new active tasks. Just tell me exactly what I need to focus my attention on, right? And down below, I can go into the specifics of, all right, well, here's the risks or the tasks that I need to work, right? So I've got 4 different tasks here that are looking at a variety of different risks of medium, critical, and high based priority, where I can go and look at and say, all right, well, I've got a couple of risks here around false positive under market volatility, if you will. Or I can look at this PII leakage detection, but I'm immediately presented with, what do I need to do? And if I dive into those, I'm given the details around this. So this one was a identified risk around PII leakage for a particular model that's doing guided decision support for financial advisors, right? And as part of this analysis, that I can go and add my commentary. So as I'm looking at the model, I can always get back to the AI system and the model here. But as I'm looking at it, I can add my commentary, as you've seen before over here, where they've already added some compensating controls that said, you know what, we need to make sure some inline guardrails are in place and implement PII leakage detection monitoring. So I have that audit trail, or that updates that are part of it, and then leave my comments of, hey, reviewed by Dave Trier. Leave those, and now I've got that ongoing review cycle for each and every risk, so that when I get to the point where, you know what, I'm ready to go, I've resolved it in terms of I'm comfortable with the particular information, I can put my comments and move on to actually closing this particular item. So now we've moved towards, again, having something that's very disparate. It's disconnected across different teams. They're using different approaches, different processes. It's very manual, lots of back and forth, to something that is consistently presented in that My Work page of what needs to be accounted for, a consistent representation of the tasks that I need to accomplish, and being able to actually work those specific risks within ModelOp Center directly. And finally, just to roll this back up, that there are a series of dashboards and reports that allow me to look at things such as, well, show me all the various models or AI systems that are out in production by different risk tiering, where they are in their life cycle, whether in QA, validation, production, and then where I have potential issues in production. I've got a clean system, fantastic, but where do I have issues for models that are being used for business decisioning overall? So I went through that really quickly, but hopefully that gave you a little bit of a flavor around how ModelOp Center 3.3 really is positioned to help these large organizations account for all of the different risks that are being brought forward as part of AI and generative AI, but providing the appropriate visibility with the inventory, the right controls with those governance scores and automations, and the right reporting from a testing and overall executive reporting perspective. So with that, I'll hand it back to Jay, and of course, happy to do a detailed demos, as we only were able to get a glimpse of ModelOp Center 3.3 in this particular webinar.
Yeah, there's definitely more questions coming in. I think the answer to a lot of those questions is yes, but it might need a longer demo or more in-depth demo. So please reach out to us after the webinar. Happy to dive a little deeper. But Dave, there are actually two very simple questions and that you can answer. One, do we differentiate between generative AI and AI in general? Whether I guess it could be any different type of model or regression models or rules-based models beyond beyond AI. The answer to that is yes. And then two, do you track usage and validation activities beyond just the use case itself? And so maybe just say one word about that because the answer is yes, we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of it, I didn't go into a lot of detail today, is that workflow automation, which is really helping to orchestrate all the steps in the entire life cycle of a model from use case inception to retirement, of which validation activities are part of it, right? So that workflow is actually going to orchestrate the various steps, inclusive of validation activities as appropriate, which will do things such as making sure that as you are preparing your AI system and your models to be submitted to model risk for validation, right? That you have all the various assets, documentation, source code, et cetera, training and holdout data sets. Those are all packaged accordingly. If they're not, make sure that they are packaged. Moving to requesting validation, actually helping to draft some of the documentation, typically a validation report or some of that design documentation, and then handing that off, waiting for the expert commentary, which we can then track and associate back to the overall model itself. So long-winded answer of yes. Again, we're happy to do a detailed demonstration around those workflow capabilities that helps to orchestrate the various steps in the process.
Awesome. Thanks, David. I know we're just about at time here, and so sorry we're not able to get to all the questions, but encourage you to reach out to us on modelop.com. We've got some forms. You can contact us or request a demo. So if you haven't done that already, please do. I mean, the big takeaway here is that like rules and regulations have a near-term urgent deadline. So the time for action is now. Everything that Dave just showed you helps you prepare for the oncoming updates and evolving regulations and gets visibility into that AI accountability challenge, right? Of knowing what AI is being used in your organization, what are the risks, and how it's being used. And the reason accountability and this kind of these capabilities around AI governance can't wait. Just look at the dates that are coming up. All these dates right here are related to the different rules and regulations that are now coming out on a weekly basis. So the time is now. If you haven't started already, you're kind of behind. You're behind at this point. So really want to encourage folks to start thinking about the larger AI governance process and approach right now. And of course, to get a more customized demo to your specific needs, reach out to us, request a demo on modelop.com, and we'd be happy to discuss your needs and challenges and show you what we've been working on. And with that, thank you everybody for joining today. We really appreciate it. We are going to announce our next June webinar. It's going to be back to more kind of market trends next month. So stay on the lookout with our emails that we're going to send out. And of course, we will send this recording along with the deck so you have it. And we hope to see you next time. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye-bye.